Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh dan selamat pagi. Saya ucapkan kepada speaker kita pada pagi ini iaitu Mr. Lu Xiaoming dari iaitu Head of TAB Academy. Dan tak lupa juga buat peserta seminar kita pada pagi ini. So hari ini 25 hari bulan 7 2022 9:15 pagi. Seminar kita pada pagi ini bertajuk Choosing the Right Tiles and Way to Avoid Tiling Failure with the Right Installation Method. Sebelum saya meneruskan program seminar kita pada pagi ini, saya ingin ingatkan kepada semua peserta untuk memastikan mic tuan-tuan berada dalam keadaan mute ya. Untuk makluman semua peserta, seminar kita pada pagi ini telah mendapat kelulusan daripada badan profesional iaitu BEM dan Lembaga Arkitek, di mana BEM 3 CPD dan LAM 1 CPD. Dan jumlah peserta yang berdaftar bagi seminar kita pada pagi ini adalah seramai 88 orang. Seminar ini adalah dibuat secara percuma kepada sesiapa sahaja boleh menghadirinya dan hanya kepada mereka yang memerlukan t-shirt sahaja yang akan dikenakan bayaran. Baik, sebelum itu saya ingin memperkenalkan kita punya speaker kita pada pagi ini iaitu Mr. Lu Xiaoming, Head of TAB Academy. Mr. Lu has 37 years of work experience in ceramics. He started his professional career in 1984 with Gyocera Tiles Industry Meru in the quality control and process control. In 1993, Mr. Lu joined Ceramic Research Company Sdn Bhd (CRC) as the research technical manager. He presently sits in the Malaysia and Singapore Standard Technical Committee on Tiles, which is involved in the revision and updating of the tile installation code of practice, MS ISO 13006, and the related tile testing method. Currently, in Gyocera Sdn Bhd, he is actively involved in providing technical support and systematic technical education with the aim to equip the industry players with the in-depth technical knowledge on tiles and the technical competency in the installation work. Mr. Lu also holds a Bachelor Science Honors in Chemistry from La Trobe University, Australia. So, jadi sebelum tanpa membuang masa, saya dengan ini menjemput Mr. Lu Xiaoming untuk mulakan sesi seminar kita pada pagi ini. Dengan segala hormatnya dipersilakan.
Thank you, Encik Rosli. Thank you so much for the introduction. Now, before I start with my technical talk, my colleague, Ms. Kasuri, will actually do a short briefing on
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Encik Rosli and fellow members. Without further ado, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Kasuri Sivakumaran from the Business Development Unit in Gyocera. I have 20 years of experience in the industry. Previously, I was from another tile brand, which is called Nairo. I'm sure most of you know this brand. So our main focus for the Business Development Unit is actually to be the main contact person for consultants and also COAM members like you guys. All right, so next. Okay, Gyocera Holdings is actually under the HLI Berhad Group, which is under Hong Leong Group as well. Okay. All right, we have two factories. One is located in Meru, Klang, and one in Kluang, Johor. So wanted to extend this invite. If COAM would like to have a factory visit, you guys can actually get in touch with me, so we can actually arrange a visit to either Meru or Kluang. We also have a ceramic research company. It's quite unique to our brand, where we do a lot of R&D and technical product testing. Okay, just to share on our two facilities, we have a combined production of 12 million square meters per year. and the factory sizes are 20 acres and 84 acres. All right, we have around 50 years of manufacturing experience in the tile industry, and we also have an export division that the same tiles that we lay here in Malaysia are being exported to overseas, around 60 over countries. Okay, we also have the standard offerings of tile sizes and tile types here, porcelain tile, technical porcelain, and we're also moving towards creating larger formats like 240 and 120 cm sizes and above. All right, we are also working on a lot of NPD product development, working together with European brands, ID brands, to come up with the latest designs in the market. Okay, and of course we have the quality assurance, we have the certifications to comply lah. Okay, and the latest technology that we use in our factories, such as the automatic surface detection, and also other new machinery that we have adapted lah. Okay, so this is more about the ceramic research company in Meru, Klang. We're also open for visitation. You can get in touch with me, where we do a lot of the sourcing, the quality assurance of the raw materials, and also of our tiles. All right, some of the green, the certs that we comply with, green certs and also others. All right, and recently we won this award for the technical porcelain tile that we have. Unfortunately, we do not have the samples for you guys to touch and view, but we do invite you guys to our showroom lah when you have the time, yeah. Okay, some of our project references. HDB project, so in terms of quality, it needs to be very, very good. All right, some of the international projects that we do, Thailand, Korea, of course the hospitality, wellness, as well as the hotel segment we also cover. Yeah, and of course our main focus lies residential and also commercial here in Malaysia. Okay, education as well. Okay, thank you. Without further ado, I'll pass it to the Master Sifu, Mr. Lu.
Thank you, Kasuri. Thank you so much. Now, good morning, everybody. Good morning. I can't see how many participants have actually signed in, but anyway, welcome, yeah, welcome. And also thank you for attending this training. Now, today's training is called Choosing the Right Tiles, yeah, and also how to avoid tiling failures. Yeah, I'm sure people dealing with tile installation would have come across a lot of tiling failures, yeah, which I will cover today. And also I will be talking about how we can actually avoid tiling failures by using the correct installation method. Okay, right. Okay, the content of today's training will be in two parts. Yeah, the first part I will be talking on the tile itself. Yeah, so what I will be covering is to talk about what are the different types of tiles which is available in Malaysia, the advantages, yeah, and also I will be covering the technical specification. Yeah, now this will be good for people like you who are specifying tiles in a certain project, yeah, for the right application. Now, then we'll have a 15 minutes break, yeah, and then we will come back for part two. Now, part two will be on the installation, yeah. First of all, I will cover the common tiling failures, okay. As you can see here, I will be talking about the shape variation, which is very common for ceramic tiles. Then I will be also talking about tile hollowness. Yeah, I'm sure many projects is now facing this problem. Tiles debonding, meaning tiles popping out from the floor or wall, tile leakage, efflorescence, and also on chemical damages. Okay. Now, first of all, I will talk about the common tiling failures, and I will also be talking how we can actually prevent this sort of failures from happening in your project. Okay, and of course, at the end of each section, we will have a Q&A session. yeah, for you to ask question. And at the end of this training, there will be a test. Yeah, I actually have spoken to Encik Rosli. So I said I will be giving a test, yeah, at the end of this training. So everybody please listen attentively, yeah. Okay, this test will, there will be a link sent out to you. Okay, of course, I will be also sharing my slides at the end of the training to you, and the link will be shared to you for this test. So it's in a form of Google form. You just have to answer 25 questions and then you submit. Then you'll come back to me, then I will mark the papers. Okay. Right. Now, there will be a certificate of excellence to be sent to you. Of course, there is a condition, yeah. Those of you who are able to score 80% or more, yeah, in the test will get a certificate of excellence. Okay. However, those who do not actually get 80% or more will get a certificate of attendance from Kuchera. Of course, I understand from Encik Rosli that COVEM is also issuing the certificate of attendance as well. All right, okay, let's start, yeah? Now, I'm sure every one of you have actually seen ceramic tiles, okay? But however, so what basically is a ceramic tile, okay? So basically, a ceramic tile undergo a manufacturing process. And this manufacturing process involve raw materials. And these raw materials, as you can see from the slide, is clay. In Bahasa Malaysia, it's called tanah liat. Then there's feldspar, tile, limestone, silica sand, yeah, and a few more raw materials, which is not mentioned here, as well as color pigments. Now, these color pigments is used to actually produce the color in the ceramic tile. Okay, so now all these raw materials, they are actually processed in the factory, and then they are pressed. Yeah, they are pressed in this machine here, as you can see from the bottom left. This is called a hydraulic press, whereby the material is actually pressed. Of course, when we want to produce a big size tiles, then of course we use a big mold, yeah, to actually press the tiles, yeah. And then the tiles undergo a firing process. Okay. Now this picture here on the bottom right is what we call a single fired roller kiln. Yeah. This is where the tiles are actually fired, and you can see the temperature, the firing temperature is very high. Yeah. For ceramic tiles, the firing temperature goes up to a maximum of 1120 degrees, and for porcelain tile, it's even higher. It's about 100 degrees higher at a maximum of 1220 degrees centigrade. Okay, and the reason why ceramic tiles or porcelain tiles is very strong and very durable is because of the high pressing pressure of the pressing process, and also the firing temperature. Right. Okay. Now you can see this sentence, yeah, printed on the box of the tiles and also on every ceramic product, yeah. And this statement says that shade and color variation is an inherent characteristics of all clay-based and kiln-fired products, meaning that within a batch or within different batches, there tend to be a shade variation among the products, among the tiles, yeah. And you may be asking why is this shade variation happens to tiles, yeah. The reason is because you can see there are two reasons. Number one, it is because of the raw materials. Yeah, I mentioned just now the raw materials which are used to produce ceramic tiles are the raw materials from the ground. Okay, and these raw materials tend to vary, yeah, from batch to batch, and it actually causes the tiles to have variation, yeah, from batch to batch as well. And also, secondly, because of the firing process. Okay. Now you may be asking why firing process can actually affect the shade variation. It's because shade or the color is very sensitive, yeah, to temperature changes. Okay. Now I did mention just now the tiles are fired up to over 1,000 degrees. Let's say there is a drop or a rise in temperature by about 5 to 10 degrees. It will also affect the color. And this is the reason why all ceramic tiles will have a slight shape or color variation. Right, okay, now, what are the advantages of using ceramic tiles? Yeah, what are the technical features? Yeah, so you can see here in this slide, there is a list, yeah, a long list of advantages for ceramic tiles. Number one, now, traditionally, tiles are basically considered just a surface covering. Yeah, it's basically, for example, you want your floor, yeah, your cement floor to look nicer. So you actually go and get some tiles to actually cover the cement floor, so the floor looks nicer. So basically, it is a surface covering. But nowadays, if you were to walk into a sales gallery of a tile or the tile shop, yeah, you will see a lot of tiles which simulates the looks of natural stones and marble. And you can also get tiles which looks like wood designs, yeah, in wood designs. So now tiles are available in so many types of designs, of course, in many colors and also in many types of texture. It can be glossy, it can be rough, yeah. If you want to use a tile for a wet area, then of course you choose a tile with a rougher surface, yeah. So there's a big range of tiles which are available in the market, yeah. And now tiles are no more considered just a surface covering, yeah. So basically, it is a product which is able to transform any spaces. All right. Now, the next question is, you may be asking, once I install the tiles, how long does the tile will last? Yeah. And the answer is, the tiles can last forever. It will last a lifetime. It can last many, many years. But I know you'll be asking, why some projects, yeah, after the tile has been installed for, let's say, 2-3 months, why does the tile have hollow sound? Why the tiles in some projects pop up, yeah, it born from the floor wall? Then you'll be asking me, Mr. Lu, why you say the tiles can last a lifetime? But some projects already, 2 months, the tiles already debonded. Okay. Now the reason is, in order for tiles to last a lifetime, the tiles, first of all, must be properly selected. All right. Of course, you need to know the tiles first. You need to know. You need to have a knowledge on the tiles first to actually select the right tile for the right application. And during installation, the tiling contractor need to install the tiles using proper installation methods. All right. Now there is a standard, yeah, for the tile installation, which is the MS1294. I'm not sure whether you have heard of this standard. Yeah, this is the Malaysian standard for the tiling standard, which is the code of practice, which I will show you later. Yeah, it is very important. Yeah, Malaysia do have a tiling standard in order for the installation of the tiles to be done using correct installation methods. Now, if tiles are installed using correct methods, the tiles will not fail. Okay, and number 3, now after the tiles have been installed, the tiles need to be regularly maintained. Yeah, need to be clean. Yeah, you cannot just after you have installed the tiles, you just leave it there and you don't clean it. No, you have to actually clean the tile regularly. So first of all, if the tiles are properly selected, if the tiles are properly installed, and the tiles are regularly maintained, the tiles can last you many, many years. Okay. Now, there's also another property called color fast. Now, color fast means the color which you see on the tiles, yeah, will never fade under extreme weather condition. Yeah, for example, if you have installed the tiles in an external area for many, many years, the color will not change. It will not fade. Yeah, because these are color pigments which actually has been fired up to a very high temperature. Yeah, so ceramic tiles, the color on ceramic and porcelain tiles, the color will not fade. And then, of course, you do get tiles which looks like wood designs. Yeah. However, the tiles are not made from wood, so therefore termites is not able to attack, yeah, the ceramic tiles. Of course, ceramic tiles are also very easy to maintain. They are also chemical resistant to household chemicals. Yeah. When I say chemical resistant, it doesn't mean you can use a very strong acid to clean the tiles. Yeah, because acid can damage any surfaces. All right. Meaning that when I say chemical resistance means if you use the correct cleaner, the tile is actually resistant, yeah, to chemical damages. And then, yes, and tiles do not contain this material called asbestos, because as you know, asbestos is not a very healthy product. Yeah, it's actually toxic. Yeah, so tiles do not contain asbestos, and also tiles do not contain any volatile organic compound. Yeah, VOCs. Yeah. For those of you who doesn't know what is VOC, it's basically, let me explain. For example, let's say you have actually walked into a meeting room, yeah, which has been painted yesterday. Yeah. So the paint normally will give out a smell. Yeah. And this paint smell is basically volatile organic compound. All right. So for tiles, will never contains any volatile organic compounds because the tiles has undergone a firing temperature. Yeah, and volatile organic compound will decompose, yeah, above 150 degrees centigrade. Yeah, so any volatile organic compound will decompose above 150 degrees centigrade. Do you remember just now my first slide? I said tiles are actually fired above 1,000 over degrees. All right, so for ceramic tiles there will be no VOC. And last but not least, since tiles undergo a firing process, the tiles are also resistant to fire. Okay, so these are the advantages of ceramic tiles. Okay, now this slide actually shows the MS ISO 13006. Yeah, this is the ceramic tile standard. Yeah, whereby all first quality tiles, yeah, first grade tiles will need to comply, yeah, to this particular standard. Okay, and you may be asking, what is the requirements, yeah, of this standard? And this slide actually shows the column which is highlighted in blue are the technical requirements, yeah, for all first grade tiles need to comply. Okay, so all first grade tiles, if you were to submit a box of first grade tiles and submit to any testing lab, a certified testing lab, okay, then this all these physical properties will be tested and you get the results, and the results will need to comply to the minimum requirement, yeah, under this column which is shaded in blue. All right, later I will go through each and every one of the technical requirements. Yeah, so this slide is to show you that any first grade tiles, yeah, will, if it's tested, it has to comply, yeah, to the requirements which is actually listed in the column highlighted in blue. Now, let's talk about the different types of tiles. Yeah, I know some of you will be very confused. Yeah, when you actually walk into a tile showroom or a tile shop, you will see there's so many types of tiles, so many ranges. Yeah, so how do you actually know when you take a piece of tile, when you look at a piece of tile, how do you know that, oh, this piece of tile you are looking at is actually a porcelain tile, or whether it is a homogeneous tile? Yeah, I know you have heard of this tile called homogeneous tile. Later we shall explain what a homogeneous tile is. So how do you actually distinguish? Yeah, when you look at a piece of tile, how do you immediately recognize that, oh, this piece of tile is a homogeneous tile? How do you do that? All right. Now, in order for you to do that, let's look at this table. Now, any piece of tiles which you actually look at will fall into one of this category. Okay, any piece of tiles, you go to a tile gallery, tile shop, you take any piece of tiles, this piece of tiles will definitely fall into one of this category. So in the standard, in the ISO standard for ceramic tiles, there are 5 different category or 5 different types of tiles. Okay, and these different types or different groups of tiles are actually classified under grouping. Yeah, as you can see here, you can see there are 5 groups of tiles. Group B1A, B1B, B2A, B2B, and B3. I'm not sure whether you have actually heard of this grouping, but basically this is actually mentioned in the ISO 13006, the ceramic tile standard. All right. So, and then you can see there is a property, which is called the water absorption. What is water absorption, you may be asking? So basically, water absorption is, if you were to take any piece of tile and you were to immerse it in water, a piece of tile will tend to absorb a certain amount of water, and this property is called the water absorption. Now, some tiles is more porous, means that it will absorb more water or moisture. Some tiles have very low porosity, means very low water absorption, and it will actually absorb very little amount of water. So for tiles with a very low water absorption, means low porosity, this particular group of tiles is actually called porcelain tiles. So now, of course, you have heard of porcelain tiles. Porcelain tiles now are getting very popular. So porcelain tiles, remember, has got a very low water absorption. Now, this is a very important point. You have to remember. So what is the difference between a porcelain tile and ceramic tiles? So a porcelain tiles, you have to remember, it has got very low water absorption, meaning the tile is very compact. So when something is very compact and you were to immerse it in water, it will not absorb a huge amount of water. All right. So porcelain tiles, remember. By the way, this is one of the questions. So that's why I want to emphasize this. So porcelain tiles, remember, has a very low water absorption, and as you can see from this column, tiles which has a low water absorption, it is very compact, it is very strong, and you can see the breaking strength. The strength of the tile is the highest. It's very high at 1,003 newtons. All right. Now, of course, there are also other types of tiles which is grouped under B1B, B2A, B2B, and B3. As you can see, as you go down the table, the water absorption, it progressively increases. Meaning, if you go down the table, if you look at tiles which are called ceramic floor tiles, you will notice that the water absorption for ceramic floor tiles ranges from 3 to 10%. Ceramic floor tiles has got a higher water absorption compared to porcelain tiles, and you can see the water absorption ranges from 3 to 10%. And now, I also want to mention here, and this is the reason why when contractors, when they install the porous ceramic tiles, some of the tiles need to be soaked in water, before the tile installation. The reason for the soaking is because the tile has got very high water absorption. Later I will explain again. Okay. So basically, so there are 5 different groups or types of tiles. According to the water absorption. And low water absorption tile has got very high strength. Tiles which are very porous, especially the ceramic wall tiles, where the water absorption is more than 10%, it is of a lower strength compared to, if you compare it with a porcelain tile. Okay, so I hope everybody understand. So there is 5 different groups of tiles or types of tile. And how do you actually distinguish this? Is first of all to know the water absorption. So once you know the water absorption, then you will actually know which category this particular tiles belong to. All right. So so if you go to the tile shop, and you ask the salesperson there, this piece of tile, what is the water absorption? And if this salesperson tells you this tile has a water absorption of 5%, then you will know that the piece of tiles which you are looking at is grouped under B2A, and it is actually a ceramic floor tiles. Okay. Now, under porcelain tiles, there are also different types of tiles. Example, technical porcelain, polished porcelain, glazed porcelain, and also homogeneous tiles. So these are all grouped under porcelain tiles. Why? Because the water absorption is less than 0.5%. All right. I hope everybody is clear, yeah? So there are 5 different groups or types of tiles available in the market. Now, next, let's look at some examples. Okay. Now, I know there's a lot of questions been asked, what is a homogeneous tile? All right. Another name for homogeneous tile is full body tiles. Now, when I say full body tiles, I think you probably have an idea what a full body tile means. Okay. Now, these 2 pictures on the top here, is basically a full body or homogeneous tile. And I know you probably would have guessed already, yeah? So a homogeneous tile means if you were to take a piece of tile and you were to look on the surface, on the side, and at the bottom, the whole piece of tile is comprised of the same color or the same material. Yeah, this will be actually called a homogeneous tile or a full body tile. Yeah, meaning that now a full body tiles, when you look at the side of the tiles, there is you can't see 2 distinct layers. All right. So these 2 distinct layers, normally you will see when the tiles is a glazed tile. All right. So this the 2 photo at the bottom here is basically glazed porcelain tile. Yeah. So a glaze means basically it is a surface coating, yeah, which the manufacturer actually applied onto the tile before the tiles go for the firing process. Okay, even though you see 2 layers, this glaze layer and the body layer cannot come off because it has been fused together during the firing process. All right. So you will notice that for glazed porcelain tiles, you notice that there's 2 variation. Yeah. Now this top surface is called the glaze, and this bottom layer is called the tile body. All right. Now, the picture on the bottom right, you'll notice that this body has got no color. So this is called a non-color or basic body glazed porcelain tile. And this particular product on the bottom left, you notice that the body has got some color. So this particular product is called a color body glazed porcelain tile. So you may be asking, why does manufacturers put in a color? Yeah. Now, by the way, if manufacturers were to add in a color, the color pigments are basically more expensive. Yeah. So whenever a tile has got more color, generally it's actually more expensive. Yeah, because color pigments is actually quite expensive. So the more the manufacturers add into the tile, the price or the cost of the tiles actually is higher. All right. Now, so for the color body glazed porcelain tile, the reason for this is basically because now sometimes in the factory, the manufacturers do not actually produce a full body tile. However, if they were to produce the glazed porcelain tile, they add in the color into the body to actually to make the glaze color and the body color to be more close together. Yeah, just in case if let's say this tiles, if it's already installed, so if something heavy drops onto the surface of the tiles and the surface chips off, yeah, so at least the body color is not so much different from the color of the glaze. So that's the reason for the color body. But however, color body, as you can see here, it is not homogeneous. Why it is not homogeneous? Because you can see two different layers. All right. So homogeneous tile or full body tile is a tile whereby if you look at a piece of tile, throughout the whole piece of tile, it comprises of one single layer, and it actually it consists of the same material throughout the piece of tile. All right, so it's clear, yeah, what the homogeneous tile is. Then there is this polished porcelain tile. I'm sure you have also seen this product before. Now, polished porcelain tile basically undergoes a polishing process. Yeah. So after the tiles has been fired in the factory, the manufacturer will actually send these tiles to a polishing process, whereby the surface of the tiles are actually polished. Yeah. So in order to get the high gloss, yeah, and a very reflective surface. Yeah. So this is polished porcelain tile. Now, this slide I actually prepared is basically to answer some questions from end users of tiles. Yeah. especially when tiles actually has already been delivered to the job site. Yeah, and sometimes the contractor or the developer, yeah, or the customers will ask, how do I know that the tiles which has been sent to my job site is of first grade? Yeah, and I'm sure you have come across this sort of questions before. Yeah, so how do you determine, yeah, that tiles which has been sent to the job site is of first grade? Now, for tiles which are actually classified as first grade, yeah, will have one or tiles which are classified as first grade will have one of these particular logos printed on the carton. Yeah, only first grade tiles can have either one, yeah, either one, not four, yeah, either one of this logo printed on the box. All right. So once the tiles actually is actually delivered to your job site, yeah. So when you look at the box, yeah, and you can see either the Cerim logo or the CIDB logo or the Angkas logo or the IKRAM logo, yeah, anyone, yeah. If you can see it printed on the carton, this will actually confirm that the tiles is of first quality, is of first grade. All right, either one. This is because Cerim or CIDB or Angkas or IKRAM is the four certification body which can certify the manufacturer, yeah, that these tiles basically are first grade. All right, so once you see any of this logo on the box of the tiles, mean that this tile is of first quality, first grade. Yeah. So if you don't see this logo printed on the carton, which means the factory which actually produces the tiles actually has not certified their product as first grade. Yeah, it doesn't comply to the MS ISO 13006, or the tiles which are actually sold into the market, it is of second grade, not first grade. Okay, so look for these logos. Yeah, once you see this logo, means the tiles are of first grade. Now, next you see this V rating. Yeah, so where do you normally see this? Okay, when you actually look at tile brochures, yeah, tile catalog, yeah, you will notice that the marble and natural stones design. Now, by the way, the marble and natural stones design now is in trend. Yeah, it's very trendy now. You go to any tile manufacturers and you walk into the tile gallery. Yeah, you see all the tiles which looks exactly like natural stones and marble. Yeah, so now this is the trend. Yeah, so now the trend in the ceramic tile industry is marble designs, natural stones designs. And you will also know that marble and natural stone designs, depending on the types of designs, you'll notice that some marble, when it's already installed, has got a lot of variation. Yeah, every piece looks different. Yeah, so now when tiles are actually manufactured by ceramic tile manufacturers, they also would want to actually try to produce the tiles to look exactly like a natural stone design. Yeah, and that's why tile manufacturers come up with this rating so that to indicate that some marble designs will have a V2. Now, V2 means when the tiles are actually installed, you will see slight variation in the shade or color. All right, you can see here in this slide under V2, you see this particular tile design has got every piece looks slightly different, yeah, in the shade and also in the texture. Okay, now for V3 is actually given to tile designs or marble designs, whereby the design has got more significant variation. You can see every piece, yeah. Some are slightly darker, some are slightly lighter, but it is more obvious compared to V2. And then, of course, you have tiles which are classified as V4, which means that every piece of tiles looks very random. Every piece of tiles looks very different. So marble designs, yeah, if you were to notice, yeah, will actually starts off with a V2 rating, V3 or V4. Yeah. So marble designs will not come under V1. Yeah. V1 is basically tile designs normally for monocolors. Monocolors, for example, white color tiles for the wall. Yeah. So normally it is white in color, and normally it will come under V1, which means that every piece of tiles, the shape looks uniform. All right. So marble designs, all marble designs will start with V2, V3, or V4, depending on the design. Okay. I hope everybody understand. Yeah. So this is called the V rating, which is to indicate the shade variation in marble and geostones design. Now, let's look at some example. Now, you can see here, under V2, you notice every piece of tiles looks slightly different, yeah? Some has got a slightly darker tone, some has got a darker tone, and you will also notice that some of the marble veins, you see more marble veins, some has less marble veins, yeah? And this, the picture on the bottom left is actually an actual design, yeah? You notice every piece of tiles looks slightly different, yeah? This is basically to simulate the looks of a natural marble design. Now for V3, you notice every the pieces of tiles has got more variation or more significant or more obvious difference. Okay, so this is the difference between tiles which are classified under V2 and tiles classified under V3. All right. Now, choosing the right tiles for the right application. Yeah. So when you want to choose a tile for a certain application, you must make sure the tiles which you have selected must be suitable to able to withstand the certain characteristics. Okay. Now, for tiles to be specified in high traffic area, yeah, of course you want to choose a tile which is strong enough to withstand all the traffic load. Yeah. So of course, for high traffic areas, it would be recommended to choose a porcelain tiles, yeah, compared to a ceramic tile, because ceramic tile probably do not have the certain strength, yeah, to for high traffic area, right? And not only that, when you choose a porcelain tiles, you must also make sure the porcelain tile, the surface of the porcelain tile, yeah, or the glaze is able to withstand scratches, yeah, and also to withstand so that the surface also don't get abraded off, yeah, to wear off easily, yeah. So which means you need to choose a tile with a high abrasive resistance, yeah. High abrasive resistance means it is resistance to abrasion and is also resistance to scratches. All right. So and there is a rating for the abrasive resistance, which is actually the PEI rating, yeah, which I will explain in the next slide. All right. Now, for tiles to be specified in wet areas, yeah, it is very obvious if you want to specify tiles to be installed in a wet area, you do not want to choose a glazed tile which is very glossy. You do not want to choose a polished porcelain tile, yeah, because a polished porcelain tile or a tile which is glossy will be okay if the surface is dry, yeah. However, when the surface gets wet, it can be very slippery. Yeah, people walking on it will slip and fall easily. Yeah, so for tiles to be specified in wet areas, then a porcelain tiles with an anti-slip surface is recommended. Yeah, and there's also an slip resistance rating, yeah, which I will explain in the following slide. Now, for outdoor areas, yeah, there are some tiles to be specified in outdoor areas. Normally, you go for a tile which is much more thicker, yeah, and the thickness normally is about 20 millimeters, yeah. So normally tiles which are suitable for indoors normally ranges from about 9 millimeters to about 10.5 millimeters, yeah, 9.5 to about 10.5 millimeters. But however, tiles which are recommended for outdoor areas normally is double the thickness, which is 20 millimeters. Now, next. Now, look, I mentioned just now, if you are selecting tiles to be installed in a high traffic area, so you need the surface of the tiles to be able to resist scratches and also to resist abrasion. Means the surface of the tiles do not get worn off too easily. All right. Now, you notice that Now, this basically, the PEI rating is to indicate the abrasive resistance of the glaze surface. So all glaze tiles will have a PEI rating. All glazes, all glaze tiles will have a PEI rating. Now, for tiles which are very glossy, for example, a ceramic wall tile. That ceramic wall tile normally surface is very glossy. Now, you notice that a tile with a glossy surface, normally have a very low PEI class. And low PEI class means it is very easy to get scratches, and the glaze is easily get abraded off, means easily to wear off. Now, for tiles which have a rougher surface, tiles, when you feel the surface of a tile and the surface is actually quite rough, normally will have a higher PEI class. So for tiles to be specified in low traffic areas, low traffic area means, for example, if you actually talk about your bedroom, bedroom, normally we walk into the bedroom with bare feet, we do not wear shoe into the bedroom. So basically, when we wear shoes into a certain area, now when we walk from outside to inside, sometimes there will be sand particles, which is actually present in the sole of the shoe, and these sand particles can actually scratch the surface of the tiles. All right. So for tiles with a low PEI, it would be recommended to be installed in low traffic areas, or low traffic area meaning residential homes, not external. Tiles which has a higher PEI class would be suitable for high traffic areas. So for example, if you are choosing tiles, a glaze tile to be installed in a shopping mall floor, you have to choose a glaze tile which is of a PEI class of above 4. All right, this is how we actually use this table. All right, so this is the PEI rating, which is the indication of the abrasive resistance of the glaze. Higher the rating means that the tile surface is more abrasive resistant. Okay. Now, next we look at the slip resistance. Now, this is for tiles if you want to specify for wet areas. So tiles which has an anti-slip property will have an R rating. So whenever you look at any tiles, and this tile has got an R rating, R rating, then this tile will tend to have a certain roughness on the surface. So tiles with the anti-slip property will start from R9, and it progressively go down. If you go down the table, it is R13. So R9 surface of the tile is rough, but if you go down the table, if you go to R13, the surface is very rough. Imagine an R13 tiles, actually, it's like, when you feel the surface of the R13 tiles, it's like you are feeling the surface of a sandpaper, something like that. All right. Right. So any tiles with an R rating means it has got an anti-slip property. All right. Now, how do you actually use this table to select the tiles? Let's say, for example, if you are to select the tiles to be installed in a bathroom floor, right? So you look at this table, you go to this table, you notice that bathroom will actually come under this category, which means bathroom is an area with occasional spills and wetness. All right. So for bathroom floors, so the correct slip rating to choose would be a tile which is actually categorized as R10. All right. Now, for example, if you are specifying tiles for a factory which is actually producing cooking oil, for example, a factory floor which is producing cooking oil, so there will be a lot of oil spillage on the floor. So you would go for perhaps R12 or R13. All right, where the surface is actually very rough. So when you have a spillage of oil on the surface of the tiles, so the tile surface do not actually get too slippery. Okay, so that is how you actually use this R rating, which is the slip rating, of the tiles. So now this is basically, now for the slip resistance, there are 3 different ratings, the 3 different tests. Yeah, so this is the number 1, this is the R rating. Yeah, so I mentioned just there are 3 slip resistance tests. Yeah, so this is the first one, which is called the R rating. Yeah, and then there is another rating which is called the pendulum rating. Yeah, which uses a machine, as you can see from the slide, which looks like a pendulum. All right. Now this pendulum basically also actually measures the surface texture of the tiles. Yeah. So tiles with a rough finish will have a high P5 reading, and tiles with a glossy finish will have a lower P rating. All right. So basically, how this test is done is this is the equipment, and you can see there is a pendulum arm with a rubber slider. The rubber slider is basically a rubber which actually is to simulate the sole of the shoe. Yeah, and this pendulum arm will swing, and this is the tile sample, yeah, to be tested. So this arm will swing, and this rubber will come in contact with the surface of the tiles. Okay, now just imagine if this tile surface is very smooth or very glossy. So when the rubber hits the surface of the tiles, it will actually stop at a higher level here, and it will give a lower reading. Yeah, because here is 0, this is 100. All right, so if it's slippery, so the pendulum arm will swing, it hits the surface of the tiles, and it will swing even higher because it's slippery. Yeah, it has less friction here, so it will swing higher, then it will give a lower reading. Yeah, a lower reading means the tile is extremely the risk of slip is actually very high. All right, this is how the test is done for the pendulum rating. Next, there's another test which is called the coefficient of friction rating. Now, this equipment actually measures the friction on the tile surface. Yeah, and then this is the equipment. Yeah, and it gives a coefficient of friction reading. Yeah, which is the COF. All right. I hear some background noise. Somebody is like clicking the mouse. Right. Okay. So this is the COF reading. The higher COF reading means higher friction. Yeah. So for a tile which is rough, will have a higher COF reading. Right. So this is the third test for the slip resistance. So there are 3 tests for the slip resistance. One which is the R rating. I summarize. Yeah. Let me summarize. Let me summarize. Okay. So there are 3 ratings for the slip resistance. Number 1, which is the R rating. Now remember, yeah, R rating starts with R9 and it finishes at R13. Yeah? There's no R8 or lower, or there's no R14 and above. Yeah. So it ranges from R9 and it stops at R13. So this is the test. And then there's a second test, which is the pendulum rating. Yeah, which actually uses this machine, which looks like a pendulum. And then the other one is the coefficient of friction rating. Yeah. So there are 3 different tests, 3 different ratings as well. So the 3 tests are not correlated. Yeah. Now in Malaysia, it is very common for end users to actually look at the R rating, yeah, and also the pendulum rating. Yeah. So the coefficient of friction rating is actually not so popular in Malaysia. Yeah. So for customers, like for example in America, they prefer to look at the coefficient of friction rating. Yeah. So different countries actually favors different sort of slip resistance testing. Now, I am going to go through now the technical requirements, yeah, so that you know when you're looking at a technical specification, you understand what it means. All right. Okay. So now let's look at the length and width. Now, the length and width in the MS ISO 13006, it mentions that there is a tolerance for the length and width for the tiles, yeah, and the standard is plus minus 0.6% of the length and width, or a maximum of 2 millimeters. Yeah, which means that, for example, yeah. So just to give you an example to see how this standard means is, let's say we look at a 60 by 60 cm tile. All right, a 60 by 60 cm tile. So 0.6% of 600 is actually plus minus 3.6. Yeah, and 3.6 millimeter exceeds the maximum of 2 millimeters. Yeah, so for a large format tile, for a 60 by 60 cm tile, the maximum tolerance, yeah, for the length and width is plus minus 2 millimeters. All right. Now for Gucera, yeah. Gucera actually have an internal standard, which is not more than 1 millimeter. Yeah. So Gucera has got two types of tiles. One which is called rectified, and one which is called non-rectified, which I will explain in the next slide. So for rectified tiles, the size tolerance is more uniform at plus minus 0.5 millimeter, and for non-rectified tiles, it goes up to a maximum of plus minus 1 millimeter. Yeah, so it is still more stringent than the ISO standard. Right now, for thickness in the standard, it says that a plus minus 5% tolerance is allowed. Now 5% normally, for example, let's say the tile thickness is about 10 millimeters. Yeah, so 5% of 10 millimeters is plus minus 0.5%. Right, which means the first grade tiles, the thickness that can be supplied it ranges from 9.5 to 10.5 millimeters. Right, so whenever, let's say, tiles have been sent to your job site, and let's say you see that the thickness of the tile, there are some variants. Yeah, so however, the tolerance is plus minus 5%. So if the tiles thickness range from 9.5 to 10.5 means that actually is within the tolerance. Now, I mentioned just now rectified and non-rectified tiles. Yeah. So now basically there are two, I would say two types of tiles. Yeah. One which is supplied with a more uniform size tolerance of plus minus 0.5 millimeter, and this is whereby the manufacturers, yeah, they actually send the tiles for an additional cutting process. Yeah, where the four edges of the tiles are actually cut or trimmed in order to get a more uniform size tolerance of a maximum of plus minus 0.5. Now, however, for tiles which are non-rectified, the size tolerance is much more bigger at plus minus 1 millimeter. Right. So now for certain projects, yeah, certain projects which actually go for the QLASIC assessment. Yeah. As you know, the QLASIC assessment sometimes it requires the tile joints to be consistent. Now, in order for the tile joints to be consistent, of course, the recommended tiles would be to select tiles with a more uniform size tolerance. Yeah. So for job sites requirements whereby they need the tile joints to be consistent, then of course the recommended tile to choose would be rectified tiles. Okay. Now, next, there is also a tolerance for the curvature. Yeah. So for your information, yeah, the tiles under the standards, yeah, tiles which are actually manufactured, there is an allowable tolerance on the curvature. Yeah. It doesn't mean that the first grade tiles, the tiles must be 100% flat. Yeah. So there is a tolerance. I will explain why. Yeah. I will explain why some tiles has some batches of tiles is actually quite flat. Some tiles has got a slight curvature. Yeah. Let me explain. Yeah. Let me explain the standard first. Yeah. So for the tile curvature in the standard, there are three measurements on the curvature. One which is called the center curvature. Now, center curvature, the measurement, of course, the measurement is actually done on the tile surface. Yeah. And to actually see how flat the tile is. So center curvature means the measurement is done across the diagonal. Yeah, you can see from the slide here, across the diagonal. Yeah, across the diagonal. So one piece of tile, there will be two measurements because one piece of tile has got two diagonals. All right. So each curvature is basically measured along the edges on the surface. All right. See the curvature on the tile surface. Yeah. So there will be 4 edges. So there have to be 4 measurements for the edge curvature. Then there is warpage. Now, warpage means sometimes when the tiles are actually fired, one of the corners may be actually drooping down a bit or drooping up a little bit. Yeah, and this is called the warpage. Yeah. So the ISO standard says that again it is plus minus 0.5% of the length. Yeah. So meaning or a maximum of 2 millimeters. So the maximum curvature allowed on the tile is a maximum of 2 millimeters. Okay. Now for Kuchera, Kuchera has a more stringent standard. Yeah. So the curvature specification for Kuchera tiles is not more than 1 millimeter. Okay. Now let me explain why. Yeah, I think there's a lot of questions asked. Why tiles cannot be produced 100% flat? Now, in order to explain this, let's look at the manufacturing process. Now, this is a diagram of a roller kiln, where the tiles are fired. Now, the tiles will enter this kiln at an entrance, and it will be transported on rollers. All right. So you can see here the diagram. The tiles actually move, come in at the kiln entrance, and it will go for the firing process on rollers. All right. And one cycle, yeah, from by the way, the length of this kiln, yeah, it can range between 150 meters to about 200 meters. All right. Long time ago, the kilns are very short, probably not more than 100 meters. So now the kilns is getting longer and longer. Yeah. The longer it is, the better, because the firing process is much more efficient. Yeah. When the kiln is longer. So from the entrance to the exit, yeah, so these tiles will actually move on rollers, yeah, before it goes to the firing and also before it exits the kiln. So one cycle would be roughly about 48 to 55 minutes, one cycle, right? Now, so at roughly the center of this kiln is the firing process. You can see these yellow tubes are basically the firing zone. Yeah. So it goes in. The tiles will be at room temperature at about 25-30 degrees. So when it reaches the center of this kiln, the temperature, for example, if this is a porcelain tile, the temperature will go up to 1,220 degrees, which is roughly at the center here. All right. So, and then of course, before the tiles actually exit the kiln, the tiles need to be cooled down. Yeah, we cannot have a tile which is at 1,200 degrees. When it comes out, it's still at about 1,002 degrees because the tiles cannot be packed in a box. Yeah, and also the workers is not able to handle the tiles. Right. So before the tiles comes out from the kiln, it has to be cooled down to about 40 degrees, so that it can be handled by, so that tiles can be packed and also it can be handled by the workers. All right. So from 1,200 degrees, the tiles have to be cooled down to about 45 degrees, less than 40 degrees. 45 is too hot. 40 degrees, then of course, then the tiles are actually packed. All right. Now, since the tiles are actually moving on rollers, as you can see, yeah. So that's the reason why these two edges of the tiles, yeah, these two edges of the tiles sometimes can have a certain curvature. This is the reason why, because of the process of the firing. So normally, when you look at a piece of tile, now of course, depending on the process, yeah, certain batches may be quite flat, but there will be certain batches whereby there is a certain tolerance. But the curvature tolerance, remember, yeah, it cannot exceed 2 millimeter to actually comply with the curvature standard under the ISO 13006. Okay, that is the reason why. So these two sides, which is actually at right angle to the rollers, will tend to have a certain curvature. All right. And these two sides, which is parallel to the rollers, normally will be quite flat because the tiles, these two edges are actually resting on the rollers. Okay, this is the reason why. Yeah, certain tiles has got a certain curvature. All right, now I will just quickly talk about the chemical resistance test. Yeah, you'll notice that if you look at the technical specs, it says that minimum requirement is class B. Now, class B means first of all, you need to understand how the test is done. So for chemical resistance, so what happens is there are two chemicals used, yeah, for the chemical resistance test, which is household chemicals and also swimming pool salts. Swimming pool salts are basically chlorine, which are used in used in swimming pools. Yeah. So these two chemicals are actually placed on the surface of the tiles and left for 24 hours. Okay, and after 24 hours, we want to see the effect of these chemicals on the surface of the tiles to see whether these chemicals actually have any effect on the surface of the tiles. So if there's no visible effect, then the chemical resistance test for this particular tile is called class A. And most, I would say majority of the tiles is actually of class A. Yeah, and the minimum requirement is class B, which is if there is a slight visible change on the surface of the tiles, it is still acceptable. Yeah, but this is the minimum requirement. All right. Now, class C means after the test, the surface of the tile is partially or completely affected. So we cannot have when we conduct a test, we cannot have a tile if it actually give a class C, yeah, in the chemical resistance test, it will fail. It will not be actually sold as a first grade tile. All right, minimum requirement for chemical resistance is class B, and I would say majority of the tiles which are supplied under first grade is of class A. Then next is the staining resistance test. Yeah, basically, of course, we when end users use tiles, they do not want the tiles to stain. Yeah, so and staining test is one of the requirements. Yeah, so for the staining test, 3 staining agents are used. Yeah, these are chrome green solution, iodine solution, and also olive oil. So this, as you know, these 3 agents are very strong staining agents. Yeah, so I'm sure you have come across iodine. Yeah, for small wounds. Yeah, sometimes you can buy from the pharmacy. This is those yellow solution. Yeah, so it actually stays onto your finger for a long time. Yeah, that's why these are strong staining agents. So these are basically used for the test, and these are also the stain are actually put on the surface of the tiles and then left for 24 hours. And then after 24 hours, the test actually requires to see how the stain can be removed. Yeah, if the stains can be removed by running hot water, then the stain resistance test for this particular tile is class 5. Yeah, and I would say most of the tiles which are glossy, yeah, especially the ceramic wall tiles which are very glossy, the stain can be easily removed even by running hot water. All right, and then of course, when let's say if the stain can only be removed by hand cleaning with a weak cleaning agent, then it is class 4. And then if it's the stain has to be mechanically clean, means that you have to use a sponge to actually clean the surface mechanically and using a stronger cleaning agent, then it's class 3. Yeah, so class 2 and class 1 actually fails the test. All right, so minimum requirement for first grade tile for stain resistance is minimum class 3. Yeah, and normally tiles which are rough, yeah, which have a rough surface, may have a stain resistant class of 3, because rough surface, the stain sometimes cannot be cleaned off by running hot water. So you need to scrub it a little bit, yeah, in order to clean the stain, because the surface is actually rough. Okay, I have come to the end of part 1. So this part 1 is basically on the type of tiles and also on the tile specification. All right. So now let's go for a Q&A session. If you have any questions on part 1, yeah, before we go for a 15 minutes break.
Yes, hello. There are some questions in the chat box. by Mr. Chong. Any possibility to consider tiles with fire-rated material?
I can't hear your voice is very, very soft.
Wait, Mr. Loh.
I still can't hear.
Can hear?
Oh, yes, yes, better now.
Okay, any possibilities for our tiles to be fire-rated material? I think you've answered that question, right? It's fire.
Oh, there are some questions, is it? Oh, I didn't see it. All right. Let me see. I couldn't hear you properly, Kasuri. Let me go to the.
Sure.
Okay, let me see. All right. Let me go to the comments. Okay. All right.
First question is at 9:29 a.m. by PPM 348.
Hang on. Let me go to. So the Chong Sun Fat actually says good morning. I appreciate if you can share the presentation slides in PDF format for reference. Yes, I will share you the slides after this. Do not worry. Right. Okay. Right. Chong Sun Fat actually asked, any possible to consider tiles to be fire-rated materials? Like I mentioned, the tiles are fire resistant. Yeah. Because tiles they are fire so high. Yeah. I think if you are asking whether these tiles will pass the fire-rated material, the answer is yes. Oh, all right. Okay. Then Chong Sun Fat asked again, why production of nowadays tiles often happen warped, while not happen at olden times? Please advise. Thank you. Now, when you say olden times, I actually started working in 1984 in the Gochera factory. 1984, yeah, I can remember. That was 38 years ago. And when I worked in this factory in Meru, my first job was to look at all those tiles which has been produced, which were warped. So when you say tiles in the olden days not warped, it is not true. It is not true. And now I probably think that you are talking about now because tiles are now getting bigger. Yeah, especially Mr. Chong. Yeah, when you see tiles which are longer, of course visually it is more obvious to actually see the curvature. Now in the olden days, I would go back to 1984. The biggest tiles which is produced was only 30 by 30 cm, 1 foot by 1 foot, and you do not see obvious curvature because the tiles are so small. So physically, it doesn't, even though it's warped, it doesn't look so obvious. Just imagine now the tiles are now getting as big as 1 meter. Yeah. So and normally we have this long rectangular planks. Yeah, the wood designs, and you look at it, it's quite obvious. The curvature is obvious. So basically, because tiles, basically, if you were to compare with last time, a bigger size tiles, curvature is actually more obvious compared to tiles which are smaller. That's the reason. But it is not true that olden days tiles don't warp. 1984, I've already come across tiles which were warped. I can remember when I started working in Meru, one of the Gochera factories. My everyday job for 6 months was to look at all these tiles, whether to be sold as first grade or to actually second grade. Okay, Mr. Chong? Right, again, Mr. Chong, another question. Well, okay. In what condition tiles can resist attack, such as common cement removal, and how to choose such good tiles? In what condition could tiles resist attack, such as common cement removal, and how to choose such tiles? I think your question is asking about how to remove cement effectively. Yeah, yeah. I will cover this in part 2. Yeah, part 2. Of course, you need to use the correct chemical to clean cement stains, because cement stains are considered quite tough stains. All right, and to remove cement stains, you need an acid solution. And as you know, acid is strong. Yeah. So if you use too strong an acid, of course you will remove the cement, because cement will dissolve in acid. But if you use too strong an acid, it will also attack the surface of the tiles. Yeah. So you need to use the correct cement cleaner, which I will recommend in part 2. Okay. All right. Okay. Mr. Chong again, another question. Due to the tile production process method, the tiles are unable to produce perfect flat. All right, that's correct. But there are manual methods and produce perfect flat, but very slow. Yes, Mr. Chong. Yeah, there is. Of course, now all the tiles, the process now is using roller kiln. Yeah, which means tiles have to go on rollers. Of course, there is also those tunnel kiln firing. Those are old. Tunnel kiln means it's actually placed on a slab. Yeah, it doesn't go on rollers. But that is already obsolete already. Traditional method. It's called tunnel kiln firing. No, nobody do it anymore. So I would say 100% or probably 99.9% of the processes now is all done on roller kiln firing. Yeah. So and that's why we still get this sort of slight curvature. All right. All right. Okay. Nick Muhammad Malik Faisal, okay, asks, how much pressure applied during pressing the material? Okay. I can't remember because I was working in a factory many years ago. I can't give you an exact pressure, but it's very high pressure. I can't remember because that was 1984. Yeah. But it's really high pressure, very high. Asma Farah asks, is wall tile and floor tile different? I do not know what you mean by different. Of course, the property is slightly different. Well, I don't know what you meant. Yeah, of course, wall tiles would, of course, it's lower in strength. It would be suitable to be installed on the wall. Yeah, but of course, you don't install wall tiles on the floor. Yeah, because the strength is not high enough. Yeah. So that's the reason. There are reasons why tiles are actually specified for wall and tiles are specified for floor. So the more important thing is, for wall, you can actually use a porous tile, yeah, because you are not walking on the tiles, so there's no load exerted on the tiles. Remember, wall tiles are actually porous and they are quite weak, yeah. So let's say you have a lot of loading and you have high traffic, so the wall tiles may not actually last as well as a floor tile or a porcelain tile. I think I answer your question. Yeah, they are different in properties. Yes, they are. But manufacturing method is roughly about the same. Okay. All right. IZ Gafar asks, COF rating in slip resistance. COF stands for coefficient of friction. Yeah, COF is coefficient of friction. This time you saw the machine. Yeah, basically there's a rubber on the bottom of the motorized machine. This motorized machine will actually run on the surface of the tiles, and this rubber will be in contact with the surface of the tiles. So when the machine runs along the tile surface, it measures the friction, yeah, between the rubber and the tile surface. And the test is called coefficient of friction test. So the reading is actually the friction. Rougher tiles will have a higher friction, higher reading, and tiles which are smooth will have a lower COF reading. Okay. All right. Oh, Muhammad roughly already answered Aziz Gafar's question. Okay, thank you, Muhammad Rafi. All right. Oh, any question? Muhammad Osman Muhammad Ramzan asked, tiles are found hollow when replaced by contractor, still found hollow after re-inspection. Does use latex liquid help to reduce the hollowness? This will be covered in part 2. All right. Part 1 is only on the tiles, yeah. So I will cover this in part 2 later. All right. So I don't answer you now. Okay. Okay. Wow, a lot of failure questions here. I have actually not gone through the failures yet. Arshidi Ashe. Debonded tiles always happen in external area, and some architect propose expansion joints to avoid the debonded tiles. However, this issue still happen. Any advice? I will cover this in part 2. Okay. Wow, a lot of failure questions. Oh. These participants are very anxious. All right. Mohammed Asran, is the porcelain tiles can receive waterproofing on surface repellent? I don't understand this. Is the porcelain tile can receive waterproofing on surface water repellent?
Maybe what you meant, Mr. Loh, is you know, they're doing a layer of waterproof on the tile.
On the tiles,
Mm.
not recommended because the tile surface is very smooth. I think it's not recommended. It has to be used in the substrate, not on the tile surface, I would think.
Is that
Yeah.
correct, Encik Mohammed?
Yeah.
PPM 819, did we understand your question correctly? Or is it in the bathroom area whereby adhesive
It has to be below the tiles, not on top of the tiles. Because remember, tiles is a surface covering, yeah, it's on the surface. So waterproofing should be underneath, yeah, the substrate.
Yeah. Maybe you can on your mic, Encik Mohammed. Kita terus answer, Encik Mohammed.
Cik Muhammad Asran, PPM 819. Boleh buka mic tak?
Buka mic, kita terus tanya.
Yes, please, yes.
Maybe boleh communicate terus dengan speaker.
Yes, please.
Okay, dia sebab sekarang ni kebanyakan ada waterproofing yang dia orang apply atas pada surface. Dia tak kata dia kata kalau
atas surface tile ya.
Betul.
Okay.
Dalam bathroom.
Alright, okay. Now, if it's going to be applied on the tile surface, I think you need to talk to the waterproofing supplier to see whether there's any of the waterproofing material which can actually adhere to a smooth surface. So normally the surface of the polished for glaze, yeah, it's normally not porous. So you need a special waterproofing material. Yeah, because normally waterproofing is actually applied in the beneath the tiles. Yeah, so if the tile surface is very glossy, so I think you need to, because we don't supply waterproofing, so I'm not very knowledgeable on waterproofing. But you need, if it's a very smooth surface, especially a tile surface, you need to have the correct waterproofing layer. We need to check with the waterproofing supplier to see whether there is one or not. They can recommend to you if, let's say, in case you want to apply on the tile surface.
Because our construction, we use the waterproofing, the window, not the surface lah. Because some when we talk about renovation.
Oh, yang tepi highway MSU is sini ya.
I think I don't know much about waterproofing, so I think you probably have to speak to the supplier to see whether there is one which is actually to be applied on the tile surface.
Understand.
Yeah. Okay, Encik Mahmud.
Okay.
All right. Mr. Chong actually asked another question. Any precisely method to prevent efflorescence or white stain on swimming pool site? Thank you. That will also be covered in part 2. Okay. Now, is there any more questions? Or if not, then we go for a 15 minutes break. Yeah. So then you'll come back for part 2, because then I can answer most of your question, which is on the failure. Is that okay, Encik Rosli?
Ya, okey. Untuk para peserta, kalau ada apa-apa soalan lagi boleh tanya. Sebelum kita berhenti rehat dan balik semula pada 10.50. Maybe Kasuri, you want to share something for your corporate video?
Tadi dah share dah.
Okay.
Yeah, the
So we take about 50 minutes break. So we come back at 10:50, yeah?
Okay, boleh.
Alright.
Okay, I'll see you back in 10:50. Yeah. Let's go for a short break. Okay. Bye-bye. See you later.
Itu apa? Budak-budak kan. Apa
Now part one, I actually talk about the tiles, the technical specification. Yeah. So now I'm going to cover some tiling failures. Yeah, and I will go through to explain what are the causes of this the problem, and also how to actually prevent this sort of failures. Okay, so I will be covering on shape variation, hollowness and debonding, leakage, chemical damage, and also fluorescence. Yeah. So first, let's talk about shape variation. And I would think, those who are dealing with the tiles would come across shape variation problems, especially at the job site. Okay. Now you can see here, there are these four pictures here are actually taken from job sites. Yeah. And you'll notice that clearly there are shape variation problems, on the tiles. So now let's talk about what are the causes, of the shape variation. So basically, there's two causes of this problem. Now I did mention just now when I started that shape variation is an inherent property of ceramic tiles. Yeah. So basically, and tiles when they are supplied on the box, there is always an indication of a shade number or a shade code, which is actually for the person who actually for the tiling contractor or the end users to make sure they do not mix the different batches of tiles and install the tiles together. Yeah, and most of the time when we have when we face this sort of shading variation sort of problems, and it is basically caused by the mixing of one or more of a different batch of tiles. Okay. Now on the box, normally there is a shade code, a shade code or a shade number. So here you can see here in this slide is actually D405, which means when you're installing this particular D405 shade, you should not actually mix it with 404 or 406, because if it is a different number or different code, then it actually tells you that it is a different shade. So and most of the time when we found out at job site is basically sometimes before the tiles are installed, somehow the shades is actually not it is actually mixed. There could be 2 different shades, sometimes as much as 3 different shades mixed. So for the tiling contractor, it has to be made sure before doing the installation, they must actually check the box. So check the box to make sure it's of the same shade before they start the installation. Okay, that is number 1. Now for number 2, now sometimes earlier in part 1, I did mention that now tiles, many tiles are now are produced to look like natural stones and marble. And for marble and natural stones design, normally have a V rating. Okay, and sometimes when the end user, or the architects or the contractor or developer choose the tiles, they are not aware. They are not aware that the design they have chosen is actually V3, right? So if you do not know the characteristics of a V3, and let's say you have chosen this particular design, so what will happen if the tile has already been installed? You will get a shock. The person who chooses this tile will get a shock. They expect the tiles to be all of the consistent shade, of a uniform shade. But however, once the tile has been installed, it is a V3 product. So you will get this sort of effect when the tiles are installed. So that's why to know the product, before the tiles are chosen is very important. So now once you know that there are particular things that you need to know before you actually choose the tile, then this sort of things will not happen. Okay. Now next we look at hollowness. I would think this is a common problem nowadays, yeah, especially when house owners, yeah, when they get the keys to the new house, the first thing they will do is actually to take a tapping rod. Yeah, this is a tapping rod, yeah, and to tap on every piece of tiles, yeah, in their unit. Now, what is the reason for tile hollowness? Yeah, it is basically tile hollowness is actually caused by insufficient application of the adhesive, yeah, resulting in a lot of air pockets, yeah, or voids, yeah, beneath the tiles. So of course, when the tiles are tapped, of course, then of course they sound hollow. Okay, so now the question is always, will hollowness lead to tile failure? Yeah, the answer is it depends. It depends on how severe the tile hollowness is. Let's say, for example, if you were to tap on a piece of tile, and let's say only the corners, only the 4 corners are actually hollow, but the rest of the tiles are intact, then of course the tiles will not fail. Yeah, and let's say if the tiles are tapped, and let's say about maybe half the tile or 50% of the tile is already hollow, then it is not a very good sign. Yeah, this is actually a sign that the tiles will fail eventually. Okay. Now I want to show you this video, yeah, a short video just on the hollowness, yeah. Okay, so basically these tiles, the first piece was good, was very good, yeah, there was no hollowness. And the second part, actually, the tiles are hollow. Yeah. So which means this second piece of tile basically is going to fail anytime. Okay. This is actually called tile hollowness. Now, these photos basically are tile debonding. Yeah. You notice here this video here. You notice at the bottom left. Now, sometimes, yeah. You will hear of house owners complaining, yeah, suddenly the tiles actually exploded, yeah, as you can see from the bottom left here, and this one as well, yeah, on the bottom right, yeah, you notice that suddenly the tiles actually exploded and actually come off, yeah. Now, why this is so, yeah? So basically, if you were to look at these the problem here, yeah, in these 2 videos, and here you can see here very clearly on the bottom left, you see the tiles. You notice something, yeah? The tiles are basically installed very, very close together. All right, you notice here, yeah, you see the tiles. Basically, there's very little gap between the tiles. Okay, now let me actually talk about the cost, yeah, the cost of the problem. Okay. So here I have listed the causes, yeah, the causes of tile hollowness or tile debonding, yeah. So whenever there is a failure, yeah, on hollowness or tile failure, it is actually caused by one or more of these following reasons, which I'm going to explain. Yeah, one or more of this the following reasons. Okay, number 1, you notice here, fixing porcelain tiles using wrong bonding agent. Now you notice when I say porcelain tiles, and you have seen this, you look at the slide here, you notice that cement, I've actually crossed out the cement, yeah, or a mixture of cement with adhesive, meaning that use of cement in the installation of porcelain tile, it is not recommended. Okay, so there should be no mixing of cement with the adhesive for in the installation of porcelain tile. Now, let me explain why. Okay, if you can remember just now when I started, I actually spoke about the water absorption of porcelain tiles. Yeah, and what did I say? The water absorption for porcelain tile is very close to 0. It is less than 0.5%, and most of the porcelain tiles which are now produced in the market, it is very close to 0%. Yeah, which means a piece of porcelain tile is like a piece of glass. Okay, a glass, if you do the water absorption, it is also very close to 0. Okay. Now, contractor, I think here, I think there are a lot of contractors here. I think you know this, yeah. If you want to install glass, yeah, let's say glass sheets you want to install, do you use cement? Yeah, obviously you do not use cement because cement doesn't bond very well to the glass. And because of the low water absorption, a porcelain tile is also like a piece of glass. Yeah, so by using cement, it's going to cause the tiles to fail. Okay, so of course there are certain projects whereby the contractor they mix cement with adhesive. Yeah. Now, one of the reasons why they do this is because sometimes it is because of the cost. Yeah, because adhesive, of course, is more expensive. So at certain job sites, yeah, so the contractor, in order to save costs, so this I can save some cost by actually adding some cement into the adhesive. Yeah, and this is the cost of the problem. Yeah, so porcelain tiles recommended to use only fully adhesive, and it must be the right type of adhesive. Yeah, which I will explain. Yeah, the use of the correct adhesive. All right. Let me talk about the adhesive. Yeah, there are different adhesive types or different areas of application. Right. Okay. How to choose the right adhesive. Now, in this slide, you notice that this bag of adhesive has got the category, yeah, of the adhesive, which is actually printed on the back of the adhesive. Now, all adhesive will have this the type, yeah, actually printed on the back of the adhesive. And this particular bag of adhesive, it is C2TE. All right. So what does this mean? Yeah. Now, C2 basically indicates the bond strength. Okay. Now, look at this table. Yeah. So a C1 means it is able to give you a normal bond strength, and C2 adhesive is actually an adhesive with a double bond strength, which means the bond strength is much more stronger, double the strength, right? So this particular bag of adhesive, it is C2. Yeah, so you know the bond strength of this adhesive is much more higher, and C2 adhesive is actually recommended for the installation of porcelain tiles. Okay, so C1 adhesive would be recommended for the installation of the porous ceramic tile. All right, for porous ceramic tile, go for the C1, and for C2, go for the, it is actually suitable for porcelain tiles. Then you will see P here, yeah, P. Now, P means here, no vertical slip, okay? Means no vertical slip, which means this particular adhesive would be suitable for the installation of tiles on the wall. Yeah, so when the tiles are actually placed on the wall, the adhesive do not allow the wall tiles to slip down. Okay, that's why they have this T here to indicate that this adhesive do not give any vertical slip. Okay, and then E, yeah, what does E means? Now, E means extended open time. Okay, now most adhesive has an open time of 20 minutes. Yeah, so let me explain what is open time. Now, open time means once the contractor has actually applied the adhesive, he will need to complete the tile installation within this open time. Now, I did mention adhesive has an open time of 20 minutes, which means after the contractor has actually applied the adhesive, he will have to complete the tile installation within the 20 minutes time frame. Okay, so but this is a E category, which means it has an extended open time. Yeah, instead of 20 minutes, it is 30 minutes. So which means this particular adhesive, it is good because it has an extended open time. So the contractor has got more time for the installation of the tiles. Okay, so this is what it means. So this particular category or type of adhesive, C2TE, would be a good adhesive to be used on porcelain tile, and this porcelain tile is installed on the wall. Okay, so this is what it means. Yeah, and of course there's also F. Now F means a fast setting adhesive. Now, example of using a fast setting adhesive would be, for example, in a shopping mall, let's say one of the shop in the shopping mall needs to do retiling. Okay, so what happens is shopping malls normally, you know, it closes at 10 o'clock and it has to open the next day at 10 o'clock in the morning. So they only have 12 hours, yeah, to actually do the renovation, right? So in order to have the tiles to dry and set, yeah, within the 12 hours, so the tiling process should go for a adhesive which has a fast setting. All right, and then there's also adhesive whereby there's an S1 and S2. Now S1 and S2 means deformable. This adhesive is deformable, and this adhesive would be suitable for large format tiles and also to be installed in areas where there's a lot of movement. Yeah. So this S1, S2 adhesive is not rigid when it is dry, so it is deformable. So it will be good for areas whereby there's a lot of vibration, or especially for high-rise sort of application. Yeah. So when there's some deflection or movement, then this will be actually good. It will be the suitable adhesive to use. So different types of adhesive for different areas of application. Now, let's go back to the causes of the failure. Yeah. So next is fixing tiles on a dirty surface. This is now it's obvious. Yeah. So if the surface is actually not clean, or it's very powdery, or it's very oily, the tile is not going to stick very well. Yeah. So tiles will actually not bond very well when the surface is not clean. All right. And here, installing tiles after the open time of adhesive. Okay, so basically, now sometimes when the contractor is using adhesive to do the installation, so let's say this contractor has actually applied the adhesive, and then suddenly, oh, he noticed that it's already lunchtime. Yeah, so he said, okay, let's go for lunch. So he go for lunch, and he comes back about 1 hour later, and then to complete the installation. Now 1 hour will have already exceeded the open time. Okay, so this is also one of the causes of the tiling failure. Okay, installing tiles after the open time of the adhesive. Now next, fixing tiles too early after screening. Okay, now of course before the tile has to before the tiles is installed, of course you need to prepare a screed layer. Yeah, so MS1294. MS1294, it is the tiling standard or the code of practice, yeah, for the tile installation. Now, it recommends that the screed layer needs to be allowed to cure. Needs to allow you need to have the screed to actually dry or cure for at least 14 days, which means 2 weeks, yeah, before tiling commences. Okay, now why does the MS1294 mention this? Yeah, it is basically during the first 2 weeks when the screed layer is undergoing evaporation. Now, when water is evaporated from the screed layer undergoes a process called hydraulic shrinkage. Yeah, and this is when the screed layer actually has very high shrinkage. Right? So just imagine, let's say if the tiles are actually installed immediately after the screed is prepared, yeah, for the first 14 days, what will happen? Yeah, when the screed undergoes hydraulic shrinkage, the screed is getting smaller and smaller, yeah, and it will actually affect the tiling system. Okay, and I think in Malaysia, most of the installation of the tiles are actually done probably 1 or 2 days, yeah, after the screed. So this is not recommended. Yeah. So this standard doesn't come from me. Yeah, this is actually specified in the MS1294. Okay. Now next is the poor tile adhesive contact. Now basically you see this tile has actually come off on the floor. When you look at the back, yeah, you look at the adhesive coverage. The adhesive coverage is definitely not enough. Yeah, I would say probably the adhesive contact is only about 40 or 50%. Yeah, which is not enough. Yeah. I know you'll be asking now, what is there a standard? Yeah, standard for the tile, for the minimum tile adhesive contact. The answer is yes, there is a standard. Yeah, which I will show you in the next few slides. Now, next, fixing tiles with butt joint. Very, very common here. Yeah, tiles installed without any joints. This is called fixing tiles with butt joints. Yeah, one of the main cause of tile debonding, tile failure. Okay, so when I say fixing tiles with butt joint is not recommended, I know you're gonna ask, yeah, what would be the recommended installation gap, yeah, for the tiling? So here, again, MS 1294 actually states recommends that the recommended installation gap between two pieces of tiles or between tiles is minimum 3 millimeters, whether it's for the wall or whether it's for the floor. Yeah, so minimum 3 millimeters. So you may want to know why. You may want to know why MS 1294 recommends a 3 millimeter gap. Now, this is not only mentioned in the Malaysian standard, it is also mentioned in the other international standard, for the tile installation, minimum 3 millimeters. Okay. Now, this is because the joints, you need to install tiles with a joint, and this joint is to accommodate for two main factors. Number one, which is to accommodate for the dimensional tolerance of the tiles. So tiles are supplied with a certain size tolerance. Even rectified tiles, even though they go for a trimming process, there is still a tolerance. So number one is to accommodate for the dimensional tolerance of the tiles, and number two is to accommodate for the substrate contraction and expansion, and also differential movements. Okay. Remember, substrate contraction and expansion. Now, normally when there is a failure, the first thing the end user or the contractor or the developer or the architect, they'll put the blame on the tiles. They say, the debonding is actually caused by the high expansion of the tiles. Right? I think you probably have come across this, this sort of comment. So you may want to know, is it due to the high expansion of the tiles causing the failure? You may want to know. So next, let's go to the next slide. Now let's look at expansion. Now, any material, when it is subjected to heat, will tend to expand. So, and also when any material absorbs moisture, absorbs water, it will tend to expand as well. Okay, let's do a comparison between the tiles and the cement and concrete on the thermal expansion. So you notice here, thermal expansion is basically when any material under heat, it will actually expand. You notice that the concrete and cement mortar actually expand almost double that, double that to the tiles. Okay, so there is a double thermal expansion, compared of the concrete cement mortar compared to the tiles. And you notice moisture expansion, when any material absorbs moisture, it will also expand. Porcelain tile normally will have no moisture expansion. The reason is because porcelain tile has got very low water absorption. All right. And for ceramic tile, yes, ceramic tile is porous, so it has a small moisture expansion of 0.2 millimeters per meter. And for cement mortar, let's take a look at cement mortar. The moisture expansion is almost 3 times, 3 times that of the ceramic tiles. And this is the reason why tiles, when it's installed, has to have the minimum 3 millimeter gap. And not only, and I just want to show you very common tiling failures, normally in the car porch. And car porches normally is actually exposed to sunlight. And you notice this, if you can see, I don't know whether you can see clearly, this tiles basically has already bonded. But let's look at the tile joints. Basically, there's no tile joints. It is actually installed butt joints. So there's no gap between the tiles, and you notice that this area is under direct sunlight. And normally we find a lot of tile debonding in car porches, especially when tiles are installed with very minimal tile joints. Okay, so we go to the next slide. Now, this is the guide. Yeah. Of course, not only tile joints is actually recommended, but of course, if the area is big, yeah, if the area where the tiles are installed is very big, very large, yeah, and also remember, yeah, tiles are now getting bigger and bigger. All right, the tile size now, the trend is going for all the large format tiles. In the olden days, yeah, I mentioned just now in 1980, yeah, so the tiles, the biggest size was only 30 by 30 cm. And it was the largest size. Now the tiles can go up to about 1 meter. All right. So large format tiles will have less joints. Yeah. So when we are installing large tiles, since large tiles has got less joints compared to smaller tiles, so the incorporation of tile joints, the movement joints, and also parameter joints is even more important. Okay. Now let's look at this. This slide is actually a guide. Yeah, a guide. Now for the incorporation of tile joints, movement joints, and also parameter joints. Yeah, for indoor areas. Yeah. Now normally indoor areas, tile gap, since indoor areas are not exposed to direct sunlight, so tile gap minimum 3 millimeters. Movement joints is to be allocated roughly every 7 to 10 meters apart, depending on the size of the area and also size of the tiles. All right, and also don't forget the parameter joints. Yeah, parameter joints is basically when the floor tile actually touches the wall, there also need to be a gap, and this is called the parameter joints. Yeah, minimum 6 millimeter. Now for external areas, especially areas which are exposed to sun, then the tile gap should be much more bigger, minimum 5 millimeter. Yeah, example for car porches. Yeah, when tiles are installed on the car porch, yeah, the minimum gap recommended to be 5 millimeters. Yeah, and also movement joints to be allocated much more closer if it's external or areas which are exposed to sun, roughly about every 5 to 7 meters apart. Okay, so this is the guide. Yeah, very important to allocate this because we do not want the tiles to fail. All right. Now, how to actually achieve an optimal coverage? Now, this is very important, yeah, because we do not want any wholeness, yeah, for the installed tiles, yeah. So how do we do that? Now, in order to do that, of course, you need to use a notch trowel, yeah, trowel which actually is able to give the notch, yeah, when you actually spray the adhesive. And this is also recommended, yeah, and this is actually a recommended installation method, yeah, especially to install large format tiles, is to actually apply a thin coat, yeah, is to coat the tile back with a thin coat of adhesive, yeah. And this, if you actually have applied to cover the whole tile back, yeah, with a thin coat of adhesive, you basically are maximizing the coverage, yeah, of the adhesive to the tile back. Okay, and the application of the spreading of the adhesive is also very important. Yeah, it is actually recommended to actually spray the adhesive in a straight line, yeah, compared to spreading in multiple directions. Yeah, we normally see this. Yeah, we normally see this in job sites, yeah, whereby the contractors will actually apply the adhesive in multiple directions. This is not so recommended because it will be more difficult to remove the trapped air. Yeah, when the tiles are tapped in, or actually the adhesive ridges is not able to be flattened. Yeah, and also there will be some trapped air if the application of the adhesive is actually applied in multiple directions. Yeah, so most of the time we notice that in at job sites, yeah, the contractors normally want to use this multiple direction because basically it is more easy to spray the adhesive in multiple direction. Yeah. Now compared to if the you know, when the adhesive need to be applied in a straight line, more effort is required. Right, and this is the reason why most job sites you actually see this, yeah. The application of the adhesive is actually done in multiple directions, yeah. But the application of the adhesive in a straight line is actually much more recommended. Okay, in order to have a more better coverage of the tile bed to the adhesive. Now, and also you can see this these photos here. You notice that if there is no hollowness, if the application of the adhesive or the installation of the tile is very compact, it will also improve the impact resistance of the tiles. All right. If there's any hollowness, when the tiles are installed with hollowness, anything you drop, will tend to break the tiles more easily, compared to if the tiles are actually solidly embedded, so you notice here. So actually, if the adhesive is properly applied, then the impact resistance of the tiles will be actually much more stronger. All right. Now this is the standard. This is the standard for the minimum tile adhesive coverage. It is actually mentioned in the MS 1294. It says that the minimum it has to be minimum 90%. Minimum 90% coverage between the tile and the adhesive. 90%. This is actually specified. So because there have been a lot of questions been asked to see whether there is any standard. There is. So minimum 90%. Now this slide actually is to address some of the questions. Contractor asked whether which type of tiles need to be soaked in water before installation. Now of course, I think there is also a lot of tiles, a lot of ceramic tiles. Ceramic tiles means tiles with high porosity, being installed using cement. So if the if cement is used for the tile installation, then tiles with a water absorption of 6% or more need to be soaked. I repeat. If the installation is done using cement mortar, right, porous tiles with water absorption of 6% or more need to be soaked in water before tile installation. Okay. Now the reason is obvious. Because a tile with very high water absorption, if you don't soak the tiles and if you were to apply the cement mortar, the tiles will immediately absorb the moisture from the cement mortar, and without the moisture, the tiles is not going to bond very well. Okay, right? Now, so there is also a question by end users asking, when the tiles has already been actually sent to the job site, how do we know the water absorption of the tiles? In order for us to know whether to soak or not to soak the tiles. All right. Now you look at this grouping here. Now on the box of every piece of on the box of the tiles, there is this will be indicated. So if it's a box of porcelain tile sent to the job site, on the box it will be indicated group B1A. All right. So let's say if it's ceramic wall tiles, on the carton it will be marked on the carton group B3, and this is how the contractor will find out. Is by actually checking the grouping which is actually printed on the carton, in order for you to know whether the tiles which you are installing using cement mortar need to be soaked or not. All right. Now, if you are using adhesive, for the installation, there's no need to soak the tiles. For all this category of tiles, there's no need to soak. Okay. The reason is because in the adhesive, the manufacturer actually add in a water retention agent. And this water retention agent is able to prevent the tiles from actually absorbing the moisture from the adhesive. This is the reason. Now let's look at leakage. Now leakage normally is not so common, especially when the tiles are very small. So when now tiles are getting bigger and bigger, so when the tiles are installed, we tend to get leakage. Yeah, so leapage basically is a condition whereby after the tiles are installed, one edge of the tile is not at the same level with the edge of the adjacent tile. Yeah, I think you have seen this before. Yeah, so basically there is a leapage standard. Yeah, for Concourse, which is the Singapore standard, the leapage between two tiles should not exceed more than 0.5 millimeter. And for QLASIC, which is the CIDB standard, the leapage between two tiles should not exceed more than 1 meter. Yeah, as you can see, the Concourse standard is actually very, very stringent. Okay. So how do we actually minimize or prevent leakage? Yeah, it's very simple. Now, since the tiles are now getting bigger, as I mentioned, so normally when they want to level the tiles, they will be using the back of the hammer or the handle of the hammer to actually tap the tiles to level it. This will be good if the tiles are small, right? So the tile has no problem leveling the tiles because the tiles are small. But if the tiles are now getting so big, yeah, imagine you are installing a 4x8 4x8 feet tiles, yeah. So manual tapping is the contractor maybe can even out 1 or 2 pieces. After the 6 or 7 pieces, no, he will not be able to do it a good job. Yeah. So in order to minimize leakage, then this tile leveling system is recommended to be used. Okay. I'm sure you have seen this before. Yeah. This tile leveling system. Now, then is the next you see follow one directional orientation. You can see arrows. Yeah. Now this basically contractors will know that at the back of every piece of tiles there are actually arrows. Yeah, which is actually present at the back of the tiles. Yeah. So basically this arrow is basically is the firing direction of the tiles when the tiles are actually manufactured. Okay, so and if the contractor can actually look at the arrow and install the tiles following the directional orientation, the leakage of the tiles can also be minimized. Okay, and next is the on the large rectangular tiles. Yeah, I did mention as the tiles get bigger and bigger, the curvature of the tiles becomes a little bit more obvious. Yeah, because of the large size. Yeah. So the laying pattern of these tiles is very important. Now, especially for long rectangular tiles, it is common to lay with an offset pattern. All right. So offset pattern, it will be recommended to go for the 85-15 offset. Okay, 85-15 offset. Yeah. And try to avoid this 50-50 offset. I mean, you can see from the photo here, once this is done with a 50-50 offset, you can see the leakage in these areas. Okay, so for large rectangular tiles, it's recommended to go for the 85-15 offset, and also it is also advisable to leave a bigger gap. Yeah, a gap of minimum 4 millimeters apart. Yeah, so the reason is when the tiles are further apart, then the leakage is not so obvious. All right. I think there was a question asked about this, yeah. So basically, this is basically found in external areas, whereby you see white powder being deposited on the tile surface. Okay, and this effect is called efflorescence. Okay, so now let's talk about the cause, the cause of this problem. Okay. It is not from the tiles. This powder is not from the tiles. The powder is basically soluble salts, yeah, which is present in the cement and the sand. So all cement and sand will contain soluble salts, yeah. So and see what happens is why it happens in external areas basically because these soluble salts in the sand and cement. So when the substrate, yeah, when the substrate means at the area beneath the tiles, if it's wet, on a hot day, it has to undergo evaporation. So when the evaporation takes place, this powder will come out with the moisture, and this powder will then be deposited on the tile surface. It comes out through the tile joints. All right. So now the question always is, once this has happened, can this be eliminated completely? The answer is, unfortunately, the answer is no. Of course, the powder can be dissolved in hot water because these are soluble salts. Yeah, they can actually dissolve in hot water. But however, remember, yeah, the substrate is still wet. Yeah, when a substrate is still wet, it will still undergo evaporation. Yeah, and the tile joints, if it's porous, the soluble salts and the moisture will come off through the tile joints. Yeah, so once this has happened, there's no way to eliminate the problem. Yeah, it will be there forever, right? Now, to control, yeah, to control efflorescence, yeah, it has to be done during the installation stage, all right? And this is to make sure, since you know the efflorescence is caused by the evaporation, yeah. So the first thing is, before the tiles are installed in an external area, the substrate need to be dry. Yeah, the substrate need to be dry, and after the tile has been installed, the tile joints need to be sealed. Yeah, need to be sealed with a water-resistant grout. Okay, so that rainwater or external water is not able to seep into the tile joints and to wet the substrate. Now you notice that this picture here, yeah, this is basically contractors, yeah, installing tiles in an external area, yeah, and it is also done when the contractors actually install tiles for swimming pool, yeah. So they will actually put up a tent, yeah, and this tent basically, it is actually specified in the MS 1294. Is basically to prevent, if it rains, the rainwater is to prevent rainwater from actually wetting the substrate before the tiles are installed. Now, this is actually part of the code of practice. All right. So, so to prevent efflorescence is, first of all, have to make sure substrate is dry. Then after the tiles are installed, the tile joints have to be sealed with a water-resistant grout. And what are the water-resistant grout which are available in the market? Would be epoxy. I know. Some of you will be saying that epoxy is very expensive. But there's an alternative. If you do not want to use epoxy, you can actually use a material called polyurethane, which is also water resistant. All right. This will actually prevent efflorescence from happening. Okay. Now, chemical attack, not so common, but it can happen if the wrong cleaner is used. Of course, you can see here at the bottom right here, there are some cleaners which are not recommended, yeah, which I will talk about later in the next slide. So once the surface of the tile is already damaged, yeah, there's nothing you can do, yeah. The only thing to do would be to replace the tiles, yeah. And of course, if the tile is a polished tile, then perhaps you can actually repolish the polished tile. For glazed tile, it is not possible to repolish because the glaze layer is quite thin, so you cannot repolish a glazed tile. Now, by all means, this sort of cleaners should be avoided. Yeah, and I would also say to avoid any cleaners which do not have proper labeling. Yeah, avoid any cleaners which do not have proper labeling because you do not know what you are actually using. All right, and this picture on the far left here is basically corrosive acid, which the contractors will buy from the hardware shop. And this they will actually use to clean off cement residue and grout residue after the tile installation. Of course, this has to be diluted. Just imagine if a new worker who is not experienced were to use this straight from the container, yeah, and pour it straight onto the tiles, it will definitely damage the tile surface. All right. However, do not use any cleaners which do not have proper labeling. Okay, and all these cleaners you see here is too strong. Yeah, bleach is too strong. Any cleaners which are labeled as stain remover, it is not suitable to be used to clean surfaces of ceramic and porcelain tile, and so is toilet bowl cleaners. Okay, toilet bowl cleaners are only for toilet bowl and not for the surfaces of ceramic tiles. Okay. Now, here I've actually provided a cleaning guide. Yeah, so there are different stains which are actually on the tiles which actually comes in contact with the tile surface, different stains will require different cleaning method. Okay. Now, however, there are I would say there are two types of stains. Yeah, one which is very tough, considered very tough stains, and one which is considered not so tough stain. All right. So the tough stain would be, for example, cement and grout residue stain. I would consider them as very tough. Rust stains, yeah, especially when you have a flower pot which is on a metal frame, yeah, and it has been there in your car porch, let's say for like several years, and once you actually move the flower pot, yeah, you will actually see the rust mark onto the tiles, yeah, and it can be very difficult to clean, yeah, because rust, as you know, very difficult to clean because these are considered very tough stains. So for tough stains, you need to use an acid cleaner, All right. Now again, acid cleaner is actually quite dangerous if you do not use the correct concentration. Acid cleaner, because it's so strong, it can remove the stains, but it can also damage the surface of the tiles. Okay, we do not want that. Yeah, we do not want to. We want to remove just the stain, but not the surface of the tiles. Okay, so the second category of stain is actually the not so tough stains, which is the marker pen ink, paint stain. They are considered not so tough stains, yeah, which can be removed by something called an alkaline cleaner. Yeah, so this is the guide, yeah, for you to clean different type of stains using different type of cleaners. Yeah, so I'm sure you're going to ask me this question. Say, Mr. Lu, how am I going to buy acidic cleaner and alkaline cleaner? Because I go to the supermarket, they don't display it on the label. Yeah. Yeah, this is the thing, yeah. So, and that's the reason why Kucera has actually come out with these two very good cleaner, yeah, which is one on the left, which is called the acidic cleaner, and one on the right is the alkaline cleaner. Now, we are exclusive distributors of these cleaners, and these are actually produced by Laticrit. Laticrit, by the way, is a popular adhesive manufacturer. Yeah, they actually manufacture this, right? And why this is good and why we recommend this is basically because, number one, it is safe on the tile surface. It doesn't damage the tile surface. Yeah, it is actually produced using a right concentration. It's able to clean the different type of stains, but it will not damage the tile surface. And that's the reason why we recommend this to be used to clean any stains from the surface of the tiles. Okay, and number two, this product is a green product. Yeah, it is low in VOCs, which is actually safe for the environment. All right. So now, if you are interested in this product, basically, you can contact our sales department. Yeah. So very good cleaners. I've actually tested this. Yeah, able to clean all the top stains, and but it actually doesn't damage the surface of the tiles. Okay. Now this is the MS1294. I'm not sure whether you actually seen this, but I would actually recommend that all contractors, yeah, or developers, or as well as architects, yeah, to actually get hold of this code of practice. Yeah, it's so important because in order to prevent tiling failures, yeah, the tiles need to be installed using proper installation methods. Okay, and this now the MS1294 comes in 4 parts. Yeah, the reason for this is part 1 actually is the tiling code of practice for internal wall tiling. Yeah, part 2 is on the external wall tiling. Part 3 is on the floor tiling. And part 4 is on tiling in special areas. For example, swimming pools. Yeah. So if you want to install tile in the swimming pool or other areas, then you look at part 4. All right. So this is actually available from Spirit. Okay. Okay. I actually have come to the end of my part 2. So if you would like to follow us, of course we have a website. Yeah. And also, we are also in social media. If you want to follow us, we are also in Facebook and also in Instagram. So the slides, actually, I will be sending to you after this. Yeah. So you can actually follow us, yeah, on social media as well. Okay. So let's now go to the Q&A session. Yeah, let me look at the. I hope this part 2 has actually addressed some of your or most of your questions which was asked just now. All right, okay. I've seen another question from Mr. Chong. He is asking. Oh, Mr. Chong is asking. We always facing inconsistent grout color of grouting. Please advise on this, the root cause, and then precise manner to prevent this from happening. Mr. Chong, so basically, you see, when in order for the grout joints to be consistent, I think the contractor will have to make sure before they actually apply the grout, they have to make sure the tile joints are not dirty. Yeah, most of the time, I think there are a lot of debris, dirt, and whatever is actually in the tile joints. Yeah, before the application of the tile joints, and I think this is the problem. I have seen job sites, yeah, whereby the grout application is so nice. Yeah. So why we get inconsistent grout joints is basically because I would think the grout has been mixed with some dirt during the application of the grouting, right? And in many job sites I've seen before grouting, the tile joints is full of debris, dirt, sand particles, and when this is not removed, yeah, when this dirt are not removed from the tile joints, and if the contractor applies the grout, this grout is going to be mixed with this dirt material and causing the color to be not consistent. Yeah, I think this is the problem. Basically, it's the workmanship. I would think. Yeah. I hope that answers your question. All right. Edward Chan asks, what is the reference standard for 90% adhesive coverage? It is in the MS1294. It is specified in the MS1294, which is the code of practice for the installation of wall and floor tiling. Okay. Ashidi Ashe asks, any recommendation to clean fungus algae in pointing joints, especially in wet areas? Now, the problem with why fungus and algae is found is actually found in this tile joint is basically because the grout used is actually very porous. Okay, so any porous, any grout which is porous will tend to grow fungus. All right. So the important thing is wet areas. Yeah, I think in a lot of projects, yeah, for wet areas, water resistant grout need to be used. Yeah, because if you use a porous grouts, you're going to have this problem. All right. And how do you remove this? I think it's quite difficult because once the fungus or dirt has actually discolored the porous grouts, it is very difficult to clean. The only thing to do, I would think, would be to remove the old grout and to apply a new water resistant grout. That will actually solve the problem. Okay. Muhammad Rafiz Rapli asks, is it VOC means volatile organic compound? That's correct. Yes. Rabnes Warrant asks, how to prevent the inconsistent grout tonality? I think I've actually mentioned this just now, is to make sure before the grout is applied, then the grout joints need to be clean. Yeah, need to be clean. Now, how do you clean that? Probably use a blower. Yeah. But however, the thing is, I mean, if the grout joints, if the tiles are laid with so narrow grout joints, it's very difficult to actually fill in the grouts. Yeah. So that's why you need to have the minimum 3 mm gap in order for the gaps, for the grout to actually fill the 3mm gap. Now, of course, if you have a gap, if your tiling is actually the once when you do the tiling and the gap is only 1mm between the tiles, you're not able to fill the grout. The grout is not going to fill the 1mm grout joints. Okay, so to make sure the grout is actually consistent, have to make sure before the grout is applied, the grout, those debris or the dirt in the tile joints have to be cleaned up before you actually apply the grout. Okay. Okay. Moha asks, in the MS129 in the MS1924 day, that the minimum adhesive coverage is 90%. However, CIDB does not specify this, but 100% coverage. Who do we follow? All right, very good question. All right, now the when we say CIDB, I think what you mean is the QLASIC. Yeah. Now QLASIC and Conquest is actually it actually came out is because it's to actually protect the end users. All right, to protect the end users. Of course, QLASIC says it did not mention 100% coverage. Yeah, QLASIC, it mentioned there's no hollowness. Okay, now which means during the tile installation, of course, okay, 1294 actually mentions 90% coverage. Now, MS1294 is the tiling standards. Now, it means that if the tile is actually installed with a 90% coverage, the tiles will not fail. All right. Now, of course, house owners and QLASIC expect there's no hollowness. Okay. Now, the expectation of the end users have now increased. The expectation of them has actually increased. The reason is because property price has actually gone up so much. Yeah. So they expect a perfect sort of. They will expect the expectation has actually gone up this level. Therefore, for the installation of the tiles, there's no choice. Yeah, we need to actually achieve first of all the 90% or even better. Now, can this be done? Now, the thing is, of course, if the workmanship can be done in more detail, it can happen. I think we have no choice. For manufacturers like Lucera, we have a specification to meet customers' expectation. Now, for the tile workmanship, for the tiling workmanship, I think we have no choice. Yeah, because the expectation of our customer has actually gone up one level. Yeah, so the installation of the tiles will need to actually meet this. We can't run away from that. Yeah, I hope that answer your questions. Yeah, Moha. Yeah. Mohammed Asran asks, any difference if we lay adhesive bonding on tiles on a floor screed? What's that more practical? Oh, you mean lay adhesive bonding on floor on tiles on floor screed? I can't understand your question. Any difference if we lay adhesive bonding on tiles or floor screed? Oh, you mean, I don't know whether you mean installing tile on tile, is it? I'm not sure what you meant, yeah?
Maybe Encik Asran can go on the line. Encik Asran?
Yeah, I don't really understand your question. Are you asking whether it's able for us to install tile on tile, is it? Is that what you're asking?
Encik Muhammad Azran?
The adhesive we put on the tile and we lay on floor, right?
You mean tile back, on the tile back?
Yes.
Okay.
Or we can put the adhesive on the floor screed before we put the tile.
So you're asking whether we can actually install the tiles directly onto the?
We not put now. One step we put on the tile, at the back tile, the adhesive, or we can just put the adhesive on the floor and we put the tile.
Oh, okay.
Kena dua-dua, right?
Oh, okay.
Both.
I did mention to have the optimal coverage. It is recommended to actually apply a thin coat of adhesive on the tile bag.
Oh, okay.
All right. I have a slide. Just now I actually spoke about this. Yeah. First of all, use the trowel. All right. Now it all depends on the size of the tiles. Yeah. If you're talking about small size tile, maybe 30 by 30 cm, you may not need to actually apply a thin coat of tiles to the tile bag. But now, see, the tiles are now getting bigger and bigger. The common size now is 30 by 60 centimeter, and this is considered large format. Okay, for tiles which is 30 by 60 and above, it is recommended to use a trowel, yeah, to straight in a straight line, and also to apply a thin coat of adhesive to cover the tile bag completely.
Okay.
That will maximize the coverage. So if you ask me, if you do not actually apply a thin coat of tiles, apply a thin coat of adhesive to the tile bag, means may not get 100% coverage. All right.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Because I saw on the television they are doing the construction, the renovation, but this one overseas, they like on the floor. That's why.
Okay. Now the important thing is follow what is specified in MS 1294. So, Muhammad Asran, you are a contractor, are you?
IOW.
Are you a contractor?
No, it's
Developer.
IOW.
Oh, developer, yeah. Get a copy of the MS 1294. It is mentioned that whatever the slide which I actually produced is actually from the MS 1294.
Okay.
Okay.
Understand.
All right. Thanks a lot, yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, next. Nick Muhammad Malik Faisal, in architect specs to have 1.5 height cement dishes waterproof coating at shower area. We have problems on the bonding of the wall tiles laid directly on the waterproofing. Do you have any suggestion and advice on the issue? Now, this is actually an Asian issue. Now, the important thing is whether the waterproofing layer and the adhesive of the tile is compatible. All right. I do not know what is the actual property of the waterproofing layer and also the adhesive. Now, to answer your questions, yeah, Nick Muhammad, is to talk to the waterproofing supplier and to actually ask them whether it is able to bond well to the adhesive which is used in your project. They can tell you. Or the better solution is to get the waterproofing and the adhesive from the same supplier. So there will be no finger pointing, oh, it's your problem, it's my problem, it's your problem, it's your problem, you know. So we see this happening a lot of times, especially on waterproofing, not able to stick very well on the next, to stick very well onto the adhesive coat. All right, so we'll talk to the waterproofing supplier to see whether this waterproofing is compatible to the adhesive. Now, I can't tell you this, but the solution is to talk to them and to make sure they give you the correct waterproofing product. Okay, Nick Muhammad. Right, okay. Hasbullah Abdullah asks, where is MS 1294 is the 90% adhesive coverage, please? It is in MS1, it is not 1924, yeah, it's 1294. It is in part 1, all right? Part 1. Izzy Gafar asks, for contractor, is there any licensed applicator for tiling work? If no, means everybody can be a tile applicator. Unfortunately, yes, in Malaysia, we have a lot of workers who may not be experienced. Yeah, as you know, in Malaysia, we do have a lot of. I'm not saying foreign workers are no good, but there are some foreign workers who are very experienced. Yeah. However, there are some workers who are not experienced. So it's important to actually use workers who are experienced. All right. So we need to talk to them because there is no. You see, the thing is, CIDB also doesn't give license to they don't have something like an approved sort of installers. Yeah. So what we normally do for Gochera as a supplier of tiles, we normally give a method statement. All right, when we supply tiles to a certain project, we give a method statement to say that for tiles you have to follow all this method statement. All right, and so the contractor, the tiling contractor who actually do the job must actually go through the method statement to make sure he actually follows the proper installation method. Okay. Nick Muhammad Malik Faisal asks, do you agree to allow good air ventilation inside room to avoid tile popping issue? Because last time my contractor blamed on another party when the issue happened during handover, the defect liability stage. When investigate, all installation code was right. Nick Muhammad, yes. Now, you see, the thing is that for unoccupied units, yeah, especially when certain projects whereby sometimes the unit is actually not purchased by any owners and it has been kept for many years, yeah. So it is very important, yeah, to actually open some of the windows, yeah, open some of the windows for the ventilation. Now, the reason for this is basically because now when a unit, yeah, unoccupied unit is actually covered with no ventilation, on a very hot day, that unit, the temperature in this unit can go up very high. All right, when the unit is very high, the temperature is so high, there will be a lot of expansion. Am I right? So the thing is about we always advise developers, yeah, when any unoccupied units, especially they are not occupied for probably years or months, yeah, they will need to actually, we advise them to open some of the windows for the ventilation so that this unoccupied unit, the temperature do not go up too high to cause the expansion, which can result in the tile failure. Okay, and this is quite a common practice. Yeah, a lot of developers, they do know that unoccupied units, they will have to open up a bit, some of the windows in order to actually to not allow this the temperature of this unit to go up too high. Yeah, the temperature to go up too high. Okay. Muhammad Halimin asks, which is better, tile laid with cement screeding or tile laid directly to concrete strip surface? Why? Now, in the again in MS 1294, it still specifies that it is recommended to go for tiles to be installed on a screed layer. Yeah, screed layer normally is actually the term for the floor, and render is actually the term for the wall. Yeah. So again, for me, I would advise the installation to be done accordingly to the MS 1294. Yeah, which is to actually to install tiles on a screed, on the screeding. Okay. Hasbullah Abdullah asks, correction to my earlier question, MS 1294. Okay. Where is it stated about the 90% coverage, 90% adhesive coverage? Is in MS 1294 Part 1. Okay. Nick Muhammad Malik Faisal asks, even is prohibited to mix cement and adhesive to install tiles, but still get the spec to install tiles using cement mortar by soaking in water for B2B and B3 tiles. Yes. Now, okay, to answer this question, I did mention that for porcelain tiles, yeah, porcelain tiles only adhesive is recommended. Yeah. However, for tiles which is porous, the ceramic tiles, cement can still be used. Yeah. If you were to ask me, yeah, I would advise you to use the C1 adhesive. Yeah. For the porous ceramic tiles, I would advise you to use C1 adhesive, and for porcelain tiles, C2 adhesive. Even though cement can still be used for the porous tiles, yeah, but because cement is actually not actually manufactured as a bonding agent. Okay, for me, yeah. So if you talk to those cement manufacturers, they do not control their shrinkage. They do not. They don't do much tests, on their cement, because cement is basically not actually produced to be a bonding agent. Yeah. So you ask me, my personal advice would be ceramic tiles, use the C1 adhesive, and for porcelain tiles, use the C2 adhesive. That is my advice. Okay. Muhammad Halimin asks, thank you. Oh, sorry, yeah, it's a comment. Thank you for the answer. Will there be any problems after work completed if tiles laid directly to concrete surface? Any experience? I have not come across any problems. Yeah, but if you were to ask me about the method, yeah, of course, you see, for me as a trainer, I would recommend what is specified in the MS1294, and the MS1294 specify that the tile should be laid with a screed on the screed layer or on the render layer. All right. So, but anyway, I have not come across any debonding issue where tiles are installed on directly onto the concrete surface. But there are not many. I've not come across many projects which actually does that. Yeah, most of them actually do have a screed layer before they install the tiles. Okay. Right. Okay. I don't see any more questions here. Is there any more questions? If you would like to on your mic, or you can actually just type your questions.
Okay,
So I hope.
So pada peserta yang nak tanya terus dengan Mr. Lu boleh boleh apa, boleh gunakan mic. Mungkin ada siapa yang rasa nak tanya.
Wow, so many people here.
Yeah, total 85.
How many? 85, huh?
Yeah, 85.
Because I was all the while looking at my screen, so I cannot see the participants. Now I can see, wow, full of, wow, okay, so many.
Okay. So kalau tak ada apa, saya rasa ini satu good technical punya sharing lah. And then case study also. Sebab banyak benda-benda baru yang kita belajar daripada apa yang Mr. Lu sebutkan tadi tentang standard MS 1294 part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. Saya sendiri pun banyak benda saya catatkan dan I'm very interested dengan benda-benda ni because dia spec. Kalau kita nak keluarkan sub memo pun benda-benda ni ada our reference lah. Alright, so kalau tak ada apa-apa question, tak ada apa-apa soalan, so how about the test?
Okay, Encik Rosli and all the participants, yeah. So I will send my slides to Encik Rosli and also the link to the test paper.
Okay.
All right. So after this, yeah. So Encik Rosli will actually forward the mail to you lah.
Alright. I will share in the WhatsApp group. Yeah. Okay, so nampaknya kita dah berada di penghujung sesi seminar kita. So terima kasih banyak pada Mr. Loh dan juga Puan and also Puan Kasturi. Semoga semua peserta yang hadir dapat mengambil manfaat daripada apa yang telah disampaikan. Dan pastikan bila tuan-tuan balik ke tapak nanti, pastikan tuan-tuan biasakan yang betul dan betulkan yang biasa supaya kita menjadi IOW yang luar biasa, insyaAllah. Baik, untuk sesi seminar kita yang seterusnya, kita akan ada sesi seminar yang seterusnya pada 16 Julai 2022 hari Sabtu, iaitu Introduction to Concrete and Building Forensics. Ini lebih pada structure lah. Dan seminar kita tu akan berada pada hari Sabtu 9 hingga 12 pagi online. Kita akan bersama dengan speaker kita iaitu TS Muhammad Syarizan bin Asmawi, Head of Department di KKTM. Baik, untuk itu kalau tak ada apa-apa, saya rasa saya boleh mengakhiri kita punya seminar. So mungkin ada apa-apa daripada Encik Aizi dengan Encik Effendi, sahabat saya. Encik Aizi ada apa-apa tak?
Hello, dengar?
Dengar. Ada apa-apa yang nak pesan?
Nanti kepada siapa yang berminat untuk dapatkan e-cert attendance tu, bolehlah berbuat bayaran demikian. Terima kasih.
Okey, Encik Effendi. Cik Effendi ada apa-apa tak? Okay, last Puan Kasuri ada apa-apa? Mesej yang terakhir daripada mungkin pihak Gusera.
I think Encik Rosie, thank you so much for inviting us. We are actually honored to be here to do a sharing session with COAM to further enhance, the inspection at site lah. Hopefully, we'll be able to do this every year because, it's good to actually keep updated on what are the challenges at site. Yeah, so thank you so much for inviting us.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Okay, mungkin kita ada sesi bergambar. Macam mana saya nak buka balik gallery? Alright, boleh buka kita punya videos. Boleh ya? Oh, saya pun tak buka lagi. Okay. Ada yang terbalik Auza, asal terbalik? Auza, kenapa terbalik? Kenapa terbalik? Terbalik skrin.
Dia letak mirror.
Oh, alright. Saya akan ambil print screen. Alright, thank you very much. So untuk itu saya akhiri kita punya seminar pada kali ini dan harap kita dapat berjumpa lagi untuk seminar yang akan datang. So stay safe and healthy guys. So terima kasih semua.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.